you want to use the windscreen, we can put the windscreen on. Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the YEYIAN streaming microphone kit. I did receive the sample from YEYIAN directly, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this kit or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Take a look at the retail box and packaging. Everything looks great, really nice. They walk you through some of the key tech specs right here. We have an included arm stand, desktop stand, windscreen, and our Cardioid microphone. Backside, some additional tech specs for you. QR code for more information and a nice look at the microphone there with the desktop stand. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Looking for a secure and reliable way to access the internet? Look no further than ExpressVPN. Protect your personal information and browsing history from prying eyes. Act now and sign up for ExpressVPN today using our link in the description and receive an extra 3 months of service for free. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature featuring stickers, customer service, and contact information, and we have a full user guide and manual walking us through everything we need to know about the microphone, some helpful specs and charts for you. We have all of our buttons and controls, how to set it up, how to use it, how far away you should be for vocals, Mac settings, and we have our Windows settings. And then that information repeats again in multiple languages. Next, you'll see we have a nice mic cover here, good windscreen for us. USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable. We have our desk clamp mount stand, as well as just a tabletop mount. So you have two different options, how you want to use and configure the microphone. Decent weight to it. Pop filter. We have our mic arm. Again, this is going to be for our clamp. And then lastly, we have the microphone itself. Let's look at this in more detail. Looking at the mic up close, you'll see from the front we got the YEYIAN logo and branding, followed by our volume button, our gain button, and our mute button here. Flipping it over to the very bottom, you'll see our USB for power and to connect it to our computer. 2 headphone jacks, threaded connector. Obviously on both sides too, we can tighten this down and position it in place and lock it in exactly how we want it. Here's a look at the back side, the very top. So it's small and compact. Now let's get it installed on the stand. Stand option 1 is going to be right here, where we can just use this on any flat surface or tabletop. You're going to go ahead, you're going to take this, line it up. Just be careful not to cross thread anything. And you're going to twist it in place. Get it nice and snug, position it exactly how you want it. So there we go. We now have it installed there. It's got a good weight to it. It's definitely going to keep it in place. Now let's go ahead, let's install it with our second option. This option consists of 2 pieces here. The first one's the clamp that we're going to attach to our desktop or tabletop surface. And then you're going to tighten it in place until it's nice and snug, just like you see right here. Again, you can use that handle, get it nice and snug. We're going to loosen this so we can put our boom arm in. There we go. We now have the boom arm in place. You'll see how we can pivot and adjust this. And then we can lock that position in. And then lastly, we have a threaded adapter already installed right here. So then we can just very gently twist the microphone on and fasten it in place. So there we go. We now have the mic installed with our arm. Let's plug it in and try it out. All right, we have our microphone plugged in, powered on. This is how everything's going to sound. This is your raw mic audio. Now we have tweaked it some within OBS where we're using and have everything routed and connected through. There are a couple things I want to point out. First, by default within Windows, this mic is set to 100. That is way too sensitive, at least for me with my loud voice. That is not ideal. Obviously, you want to adjust that sensitivity depending on how close or how far away you're going to be from the mic, but that is something you want to tweak within Windows. Then you can fine tune within like an OBS. I've turned it down another 4 decibels, and then that top button where our mute button, you couldn't hear that because it was muted with the mic. you can also adjust that knob to finalize your microphone volume. So the controls are a little confusing still. How they're labeled, it's a little deceiving, but that first button is your mute button, and it's what I'm calling your gain. They call it your mic volume. The second button is what they call computer volume, and I'm not sure what that is because in my case, we aren't able to adjust it. It doesn't affect anything when we're using it. So maybe for your Mac users out there or somebody else's PC, we're on Windows 10, maybe it does something for you. It hasn't done anything in our case, which is fine. If it did adjust the computer volume that we turned down to 80, that would be really cool, but you probably have to be maybe within the settings to then use it. But for us, we just went in the settings and we just used our mouse to slide it down. And then lastly, we have the volume for our headset if we wanted to actively listen and monitor our audio. But I do want to point out there was no further clarity within the user guide about the headphone jack, but in our case right now, each one's only playing out of one earbud, but you're supposed to be able to have two earphones in there, headsets, to have two people be able to monitor the audio. So that's really cool that you have the two audio outputs, but in our case, it's only coming out of one ear. Some of that could just be stereo versus mono, so we got to figure some of that on our end. It could be our headset that we use to test it with, but just keep in mind, you might have a very similar experience if you're trying to use that for monitoring. That's going to be my least favorite feature, that it isn't just plug and play right out of the box here. Not sure why that's doing that. But other than that, guys, mute button's easy to see. Blue is when you're active. So you'll notice that right here. Blue is when you're active. So red is when you're muted. We're back to blue right there. Great accessories too. If you want to use the windscreen, we can put the windscreen on. Okay, just having a little bit of fun there, but you got a nice windscreen you can put on there. And don't forget about the pop filter as well. So you could just clip this onto the stand somewhere where you want. And then now if you're recording some vocals, things like that, a podcast, you really want to fine tune your audio, you can put that pop filter right there for you. So it gives everything you need right out of the box. I don't think it sounds bad. I think you're going to have to spend a good amount of time trying to really hone in and fine tune the settings for your voice, but that's very typical for a microphone in this price point.